The following podcast has been scheduled for one fall. I'm your reigning, defending, undisputed host, Sexy Thor, and welcome to episode 5 of The Ring of Thunder. So last week on Raw, what would have been Raw Lanta 2, there was an Undertaker video promo talking to AJ Styles, or Alan Jones, as Undertaker is invoking his real name like AJ's been invoking his. And he was telling him he didn't bother with most of AJ's trash talk, but when he started in on his wife Michelle McCool is what sealed AJ's fate. He's just mad that she did the Styles Clash before AJ and did it better under the name Faithbreaker, and that he came to the WWE as late as he did because he knows he couldn't hang with Stone Cold, The Rock, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Booker T, etc. But he's got Undertaker now to make him relevant at WrestleMania, and he invited the ass clowns Gallows and Anderson to come along with, and he'll unleash some sort of unholy trinity on all of them. They will suffer, then they will rest in peace. Then there was the WrestleMania 35 replay, where Becky Lynch became Becky Two Belts after beating Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair. Then afterwards, Becky was referring to Shayna's interview last week and admitted she was right because Becky doesn't know who she is if she's not champion, but she knows Shayna wants this because beating Becky and becoming champion puts her out of Ronda's shadow. Shayna then snuck up behind her and put her in a Kirifuda clutch and slammed her against the commentary table. Next we had Aleister Black defeating Jason Cade. Then Kevin Owens and the Street Profits versus Seth Rollins, Angel Garza, and Austin Theory was next. And Austin Theory was included. It was originally going to be Andrade, but I guess he's got like a rib injury, I believe. So it's Austin Theory now. And it ended when Kevin Owens hit Angel Garza with a stunner and got the pin. And then immediately afterwards, Seth hit him with the curb stomp. Next was the trailer for the Big Show, which is coming to Netflix on April 6th. And KO is still in the ring, and he spoke to Seth, saying the Performance Center was actually developed in spite of him, and everyone that worked with him in FCW said he was a nightmare to work with and knew everything about everything. And KO admitted he's done underhanded stuff as well, and he had help winning his titles, but the difference is he isn't delusional, and he'll be a man and admit it, and said all of Seth's WrestleMania moments were always won by some sort of underhanded tactic. Their past doesn't matter when Kevin Owens takes his WrestleMania moment from Seth and burns it down. Edge was in a darkened hallway and explained to Randy Orton about their different definitions of grit, and disputed Randy's claim that Edge would have joined Evolution had Triple H asked, and Edge said that grit is not being someone's lackey, and Randy's been only okay with spurts of greatness. And Randy's okay is better than most because that still lands a Hall of Fame career. But Edge said Randy's afraid because Edge ignites a passion in him that the voices in his head don't know what to do with, so they convinced him to make a huge mistake. Edge was starting to be convinced that the Royal Rumble was enough closure for him, but then Randy put hands on his wife and uttered the names of his children. So Randy dug himself another hole, and this time Edge is going to push him in. Then Asuka defeated Kaden Carter with the Asuka lock, and then got on commentary with her excitable mix of English and Japanese, and I think calling out Alexa and Nikki and saying, "Easy peasy," because the match is official. The Kabuki Warriors will take on Bliss Cross Applesauce with the women's tag titles on the line at WrestleMania. Earlier today, Rhea Ripley was headed into the PC when Charlotte snuck up behind her and booted her into a shutter. So they're not really doing a whole lot more build up to that, because, I mean, what else can you do after she figure eighted your legs around the post a few weeks ago? Then they showed the replay of Brock Lesnar defeating Rey Mysterio from Survivor Series last year. Then the Go Home segment for the Go Home Raw before WrestleMania was Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar in the middle of the ring, and Paul talking about how Brock is usually on this segment every year as champion, and the guarantee that this will be the case next year. He also put Drew McIntyre over, saying he is a special compared to the average guy or the dipshit at the gym who says, "I can do that WWE stuff," and compared to the locker room, which is already special. But so was The Rock and John Cena and The Undertaker and Hulk Hogan and Randy Couture. and Drew will end up just like them in that he will go into WrestleMania special and leave Brock's bitch. Then on NXT, part of which was TakeOver Tampa Part 1, Velveteen Dream defeated Bobby Fish. Malcolm Bivens introduced his associates who attacked Matt Riddle last week under the title Bivens Enterprises. Dexter Loomis defeated Jake Atlas, and Loomis's theme song, note for note, reminds me of the Stranger Things theme song. There were parts where I was almost certain that's literally what they were using, but I don't think so because I'm pretty sure there's some sort of copyright around that. While Atlas's theme song just had me wondering if dubstep is anywhere close to its popularity from 2012. Just wondering. Then was the second chance gauntlet match for the final spot in the women's number one contender ladder match. And it started out with Shotzi Blackheart defeating Deonna Purrazzo, and then Shotzi Blackheart defeating Xia Li, and then Shotzi Blackheart defeating Aaliyah, and then Shotzi Blackheart defeating Kaden Carter, and then Dakota Kai defeated Shotzi and secured the final spot in the ladder match with, of course, some dirty tricks with her buddy Raquel Gonzalez. But yeah, that was a whole moment that almost had me yelling, Shotzi Mania! I mean, come on. We can make that a t-shirt. I mean, WWE makes like everything out of t-shirts. Then Kushida defeated Joaquin Wilde, and then Wilde was snatched up by some masked men who took Raul Mendoza a few weeks ago during an interview outside. Then Keith Lee defeated Dominik Dijakovic and Damian Priest to retain his NXT North American Championship in the first match that was supposed to be TakeOver Tampa. At the same time at Dynamite, the full bracket for the TNT Championship tournament was revealed, because of course when you're a wrestling promotion, you've got to have multiple titles because story. And there's going to be Cody versus Shawn Spears, Sammy Guevara versus Darby Allin, Kip Sabian versus Dustin Rhodes, and Lance Archer versus Colt Cabana. And the tournament starts next week. Kenny Omega defeated Trent with 1 minute remaining of the 20-minute time limit, so good on Trent to put a legend like Kenny Omega, take him to the limit. And then Hikaru Shida defeated Anna Jay and confronted Britt Baker, who was jawing at her from the barricade, where once again faces and heels were the audience, but they were doing proper social distancing, like they were literally spread apart in the proper distance. Then there was a video package with interviews with Moxley and the Inner Circle detailing the rivalry between Mox and Jake Hager, and they will fight for the AEW World Championship in 2 weeks' time in an empty arena, no-holds-barred match. Lance Archer crushes Marco Stunt in his AEW in-ring debut. Natural Nightmares, the newly official branded team of Dustin Rhodes, QT Marshall, and Brandy Rhodes, defeated 8 and 9 of the Dark Order. Where's 7 or 6 or 5 or 4, I wonder? After the match, the Exalted One, Brody Lee, came out and powerbombed either 8 or 9. Not really that sure. And then 2 videos followed with Chris Jericho in a hot tub, still talking shit about the Elite and Matt Hardy, when Vanguard 1 flew over and Chris tried to apologize but had an impossible time saying the word sorry. Like, literally, he was like, Imagine that. He invited Vanguard 1 to join the Inner Circle again and even gave it a drone-sized Inner Circle t-shirt and then tried to shake on it, and Vanguard 1 flew away. Chris released the hounds, aka his cute pups, as Vanguard 1 went off in the distance. The next was Nick and Matt Jackson practicing with each other to help Nick get back to ring shape, and talked about how, between everything going on in the world and what happened to Nick, everything could change like that, and Matt could have been made a singles competitor, but not by choice. The main event was Cody and Darby Allin versus Shawn Spears and Sammy Guevara. At one point, Sammy and Shawn were putting down actual money to see who could keep Darby Allin in the air the longest before completing the vertical suplex. Cody tossed his weight belt to the crowd like he usually does on a normal Dynamite, and this is the second or third time Brandy's caught it. It's like they're married or something. Cody got tossed over the barricade to the heel spectators, and when Aubrey Edwards had her back turned, checking on Darby, all the heels jumped on Cody. Even Britt Baker was hitting him with her shoe. Toward the end, Darby was on a pole 15 feet in the air, and then coffin dropped on Spears and Guevara, because he's fucking amazing. Finally, it all ended with Spears hitting Darby with the most devastating move in sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up. Darby was frustrated, and Cody tried to check on him, but instead got an elbow to the face from Darby. Somehow I don't think this is done with. On NXT UK, starting off, Kaylee Ray and Jenny defeated Piper Niven and Danny Luna in tag team action, and Xia Brookside defeated Amale in her return after being out for some months. Finally was the Battle Royal to determine the number one contender for the NXT UK Championship, with the likes of Trent Seven, Tyler Bate, Joe Coffey, Cassius Ohno, Bomber Dave Mastiff, Saxon Huxley, Oliver Carter, Ashton Smith, Noam Dar, Ridge Holland, Ilya Dragunov, Ligero, Kenny Williams, Alexander Wolf, NXT Cruiserweight Champion Jordan Devlin, Travis Banks, Tyson T-Bone, A-Kid, Flash Morgan Webster, and Amir Jordan. What followed were moments like A-Kid being thrown over the top rope and landing on Saxon Huxley's back, but not having his feet touch the floor, so he's still in this. So he jumped back to the ring a la Kofi Kingston. I think there's a bright future for that guy. And Joseph Connors got Ridge Holland's attention and got his hat and nightstick, which distracted Ridge long enough for him to get eliminated just when he got hot. Our final four was Tyler Bate, Alexander Wolf, Joe Coffey, and Ilya Dragunov. Coffey was eliminated by Wolf. Dragunov eliminates Wolf. Then he eliminates Tyler Bate, and he is the number one contender. On SmackDown, we start off with Miz TV, but instead of Miz and Morrison introducing their guests, the Usos come out. And then New Day came out with Biggie yelling, "Ah, people at home, don't you dare be sour," which I don't think is a lesson to us all. And they were bickering till Miz and Morrison came out and said them bickering while they go up the ladder is exactly how they'll retain their championships. Usos and New Day promptly went after them, and a brawl broke out in which Kofi was accidentally superkicked, E was pushed into a ladder, and the Usos were laid out, and Miz and Morrison got out of dodge. Next up, a triple threat between Naomi, Lacey Evans, and Tamina with Sasha and Bayley on commentary. Tamina got the win after Bayley pushed Naomi's head on the rope and then walked into Tamina's superkick. Bayley shook Tamina's hand, then ate a superkick, and Sasha tried to buddy up to Tamina, bringing up their old team bed. And not unlike Seth trying to buddy up with Roman at the Rumble, bringing up the Shields past, but Tamina hit Sasha with a Samoan drop. Next was Ric Flair's retirement match against Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 24, which had the famous moment of, toward the end of the match, Ric Flair was beat but was still on his feet and had his fists up, and Shawn had tears in his eyes and said, "I'm sorry and I love you," before hitting Flair with the sweet chin music and retiring the greatest to ever do it. Flair's family was in the audience, including his daughter Ashley, who would take the WWE by storm several years later as the Queen Charlotte Flair. Once we got back to present day, it was officially announced that Braun Strowman will replace Roman Reigns in the Universal Championship match against Goldberg. Next was Tucker taking on Dolph Ziggler, and for the last few weeks, it seemed like the story point that someone texted Otis through Mandy's phone to make him late for his Valentine's date with Mandy Rose seemed to be forgotten, which just made Otis look like someone who was just mad he didn't get the girl, which is lame. Not so now, as once the match ended in disqualification when Dolph hit Tucker with a zigzag on half the steel steps, and he was about to smash Tucker with the top half, when Mandy and Sonya came out to stop him, and Otis came out to chase him, and that's when weeks of subliminal imaging on SmackDown paid off with a big, "The truth will be heard," and a shadowed hacker exposed through footage that Sonya and Dolph conspired to make Otis blow his chance with Mandy and let Dolph be with her instead. Sonya got real frantic as Mandy walked out, and Dolph ran like hell from Otis. The final match before John Cena was Daniel Bryan versus Shinsuke Nakamura, which was a great technical match, and it was quite amusing hearing Michael Cole troll Sami Zayn, who was on commentary with him. Every time Nakamura was in a spot of trouble, Cole was like, "That could be you, and then you'd lose the championship." And once Daniel Bryan had Nakamura in the yes lock, Cesaro attacked him, so the match ended in disqualification, and then the Artist Collective just laid waste to Bryan and Gulak. Finally, we had John Cena addressing Bray Wyatt's challenge for a Firefly Funhouse match, and he started by reflecting on a month ago when WWE announced it would carry on without a live audience, that he was ready to step aside and invest in the future until The Fiend laid down the challenge. The Fiend relies on uncertainty, which creates fear, which creates panic, which leads to collapse. Cena got real Yoda right there, and John won't panic and is definitely not afraid. He said Bray Wyatt isn't even on the level below me, and Bray is a poor man's bootleg Mr. Rogers, and The Fiend is Wiz Khalifa meets the WB Frog. Damn. Soon after, Ramblin' Rabbit was in the audience saying what's up to Cena, and then all the Firefly Funhouse puppets popped up in the audience around the ring, and then the lights went off, then back on, and the Fiend was on the perch staring at John. Then Bray Wyatt popped up behind John and said, "Let me in." Then the lights went off and on again, everyone was gone, and Cena was just standing there quietly. On 205 Live right afterwards, Kushida submitted Danny Burch for the victory, and Jack Gallagher, don't really think we can call him gentleman anymore, hits Tyler Breeze with the discus elbow for the victory. And it would be at this point where I'd be like, yeah, thanks for locking up with me, and kick butts not nuts. But now we have like 2 nights of WrestleMania next, so enjoy. Alright, on to night 1 of WrestleMania. On the kickoff, Cesaro defeated Drew Gulak after putting Gulak on his shoulders and spinning him around without even using his hands, then dropped him and got the pin. First match on the card was Bliss Cross Applesauce becoming 2-time tag team champions. I mean, the match was but I'm pleased with the result. Then Elias defeated Corbin with the most devastating move in all of professional wrestling, the surprise roll-up, and cheated a bit by grabbing Corbin's tights. Somehow Becky defeated Shayna Baszler despite the impending doom I've felt for months, much to everyone's surprise. Sami Zayn retained the Intercontinental Championship after hitting Daniel Bryan with an Aleut kick off the top rope when Daniel was distracted because Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura were pretty much throwing Drew Gulak over the barricade and he disappeared somewhere, but for the most part, Sami actually won clean. The SmackDown tag titles were defended as a triple threat between John Morrison, Jimmy Uso, and Kofi Kingston because Miz was injured, air quotes, but was actually sick. And all 3 had their hands on the titles, and when Jimmy and Kofi knocked Morrison down with the titles that he grabbed, so Miz and Morrison have retained. Next up was Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins, and Seth came out real Jesus-like, and Kevin Owens ended up winning twice. First, a DQ finish when Seth hit him with the bell, but KO made him come back in and make it a no disqualification match, which, I mean, you could have just led with that. Which had Kevin Owens leaping from the WrestleMania sign onto Seth, who was lying on the commentary table, and ended with KO hitting Seth with a stunner, then getting the 1-2-3. Braun Strowman actually defeated Goldberg after getting hit with 3 spears and hitting Goldberg with like power slam after 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 power slam, and he got the 1-2-3, and holy shit, Braun Strowman is finally Universal Champion. Also, the official commercial for WrestleMania 37 in Hollywood premiered with the date of March 28th, 2021. Fingers crossed that actually goes as planned. Undertaker and AJ Styles finally faced each other in a Boneyard match, which did start in a graveyard with a hearse driving in to Undertaker's theme and 2 hooded figures unloading a coffin that had AJ trolling everybody. Then Taker came in on a bike blasting Metallica's Until We're Dead? Something like that. It's something actually pretty new but really good Metallica. And the fight was underway. Gallows and Anderson got involved at one point with hooded figures, and Taker took them all out. AJ had Taker in the hole and was in the machine about to bury him when Taker teleported behind him and kicked his ass all the way up a roof and back down and had AJ pleading for his life. And in fact, Renee Young tweeted that apparently AJ Styles has never seen a horror movie because you never go to the second story of a house when you've got a killer after you. Taker seemed like he was going to show mercy, but threw AJ in the hole and then buried him for the win. There's your Boneyard match, and it was fucking awesome. On WrestleMania Night 2, the kickoff show had Liv Morgan defeating Natalya with a surprise roll-up after a back and forth of attempted surprise roll-ups. On the main show, Charlotte Flair defeats Rhea Ripley to become NXT Women's Champion. Aleister Black hits Bobby Lashley with a black mass and gets the pin, no surprise there.
Otis went head-to-head with Dolph Ziggler, who came out with Sonya Deville, so I guess they're besties now, who into the match distracted the ref so Dolph could hit Otis in the nuts, which prompted Mandy Rose to come out and slap the taste out of Sonya, and then hit Dolph in the nuts when the ref's back was turned, and Otis hit him with the caterpillar and got the win. Mandy got in the ring and celebrated with him and jumped in his arms, and they kissed. Holy Otis Mania. Next was Edge's first WrestleMania match since 2011 with the last man standing match against Randy Orton, emerging victorious on top of an NXT truck in the garage after spearing him, headlocking him, and hitting him with the concerto, and got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, and Gronk is now 24/7 champion after diving from the perch onto the crowd and pinning his buddy Mojo Rawley. The Street Profits defeated Angel Garza and Austin Theory. Then afterwards, Garza and Theory attacked them, and Selena Vega went in on it too. And who rescued them but Montez Ford's wife, Belair? I guess welcome to Raw, Bianca. Maybe, possibly. Then with the SmackDown Women's Fatal 5-Way, everyone literally piled onto Tamina and eliminated her. Then Sasha eliminated Naomi. Lacey eliminated Sasha after Bayley accidentally kneed Sasha in the head. Bayley eliminates Lacey after Sasha runs back in and hits Lacey with a backbreaker. And then she just put the belt back on Bayley and then walked out of the ring and didn't turn on her. Okay. The Fiend defeats John Cena in the Firefly Funhouse, and you just got to see it. Describing it would not do it justice. It was incredible. And if you know about John Cena's history and Bray Wyatt's history and their interlocked history, and even aware of Monday Nitro and Saturday Night Main Event, you will absolutely love this. And then finally, Drew McIntyre hits Brock Lesnar after an exchange of spamming finishing moves, because there was like 4 F5s and then 3 Claymore kicks. And now he is WWE champion, and he is the first ever British champion. So good on that. And that's the 1, 2, 3. Thanks for locking up with me in the Ring of Thunder. Kick butts, nut nuts.